Greetings, programs. NeoMegaMan back again for part 18 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Lily's Path. Oh boy, it's been a while. Been a while since I recorded, been a while since I uploaded. It's just been a while. So, yeah, if I remember correctly, we were getting on to some more of the good part. So let's get on with it. Submerged deep in hot water, I let a drawn-out sigh escape my lips. The feeling of seemingly every muscle in my body is relaxing is euphoric. Also, if my commentary is a little lackluster right now, I'm kind of getting over being sick, so forgive me. I have no idea how long it's been since I had a genuine hot bath, but right now I can hardly be bothered trying to remember. Maybe I'm giving the simple fact that for once I get to have a real bath more credit than it's due. The chance just to calm down, allow myself to unwind, and have some time to myself is a welcome one. Hanako, Lily, and I wandered about outside, exploring the extent of the surprisingly large tract of land surrounding the house. Huge tracts of land. Then we spent the majority of the afternoon resting, watching television, reading, and playing cards. It may not have been the most exciting finale to the trip, but such tranquil peacefulness is something to savor. Even after we return to the school tomorrow, I think I'll remember this little house in Hokkaido for a long time. It's a pity we only have a couple more hours to spend here before we get going to the train back. All I can do is yawn contentedly while I watch the steam slowly rising from the clear water's placid surface, my eyes eventually locking onto the ceiling. Our exams are imminent. I've barely studied at all for them. On top of that, I don't even know what I'll do after graduation. Passing exams is all well and good, but to what end? Also, now, of all times, I'm getting into a relationship. What the hell am I doing? Motherfucking dot. I guess I shouldn't think like that. What's done is done, and maybe this could be viewed as just another aspect of my new life that I'm working on. Good thinking, Isao. I enjoy being with Lily, and there's more to life than school and a career, after all. As I busily attempt to rationalize all that's happened, I hear a series of raps on the door. I pick myself up and sit upright, just trying to figure out the source. 3, no more, no less. Light, yet assertive in their tapping, and timed regularly enough to tune a metronome. I'd be extremely surprised if it wasn't Lily. May I come in? Yeah, it's Lily. I'm still in the bath. I'll be out in a sec. I know. The voice coming from the other side of the door freezes me. After a second's thought, I rest on the side of the bath and let my arms dangle over the side. Despite trying my best to play it off, I can't help letting my mind wander. Sure. Come in. With that, she opens the door, slowly walking into the room and closing it behind her. She looks oddly calm, countering my racing heart. Ah, hey, Lily. Do you mind if I take a bath with you? Giggity. I don't mind. Go ahead. With a small nod, she begins to lift her sweater off her shoulders, baring her chest little by little. I could do that for you if you'd like. Refused. Why? She's shy. Her face shows she's still not overly comfortable with letting me attend to her. I can't say I blame her. She continues undressing, her shirt falling to the floor and leaving her in white lace bra and panties. Eventually, she stands bare in the center of the room. Naughty. Compared to last time, it's a lot easier to take in her entire figure. It's a wonderful sight. Isao? You're thinking perverted thoughts, aren't you? Give me a break, you're undressing in front of me. She furrows her brow in thought. I guess this would be somewhat more erotic for you than me. Why? Ah. She gives a small, light-hearted chuckle which seems to settle her nerves a little. If this is too much for you, Hisao, I can come back later. No, this is fine. I'm just a bit, well, you're really beautiful, you know. My earnest comment draws a vivid red blush from Lilly. Look at those cute face. How can you say no to that? Hisao. I give a small grin. She's cute when she's taken off guard. In any case, may I come in? Ah, sure. I lean forwards and take her soft hands in mine, helping her over the side of the bath. She feels out the side of the bathtub, then slowly lowers herself in, my breath catching when she sits and leans her back into my front, her legs inside mine. I'd expected her to sit at the other end. Letting out a long breath to calm myself, I rest my arms on the sides of the bath as I struggle to control my urges. Far from missing the sight of her assets, the feeling of her body against mine is surprisingly relaxing. If Lily's so sensitive to touch, it must be all the more so for her. You run your baths quite hot, don't you? A bit. You want me to run some cold water to cool it down a bit? She gives a small shake of her head. No, this is fine. Okay. The conversation comes to an abrupt end, silence taking over. A very long and very awkward silence. Maybe this was a bit too... Don't worry, it's okay. The situation only becomes even more awkward. As if to distract herself, Lilly runs her free hand over her legs while holding one over her breasts for modesty. I sit idly watching the wall ahead of me in the rising steam, every now and again stealing a glimpse of her body. The white of her skin glistens as she keeps sliding her hand over her legs, their length and tone all the more obvious. You know, compared to Akira, you look a lot more foreign. I took after my mother's side genetically. Akira took after my father's more. I guess it makes sense. How on earth did a native Scot and a Japanese businessman meet anyway? My mother was a journalist. She met my father while he was at a conference in Inverness. Ah, I see. Taking after your Scottish side would also explain your height, I suppose. I look back down at her as she nods, and sigh at the ridiculousness of the situation. This really is too much, isn't it? You're enjoying it, though, aren't you? In some ways, yes. I guess things turned out okay in the end. Everything settled down, Hanako took our relationship well, and we'll be going back to school tomorrow. Indeed. It's a shame to be going back so soon, but we'll still have our memories of this place. Memories, huh? I suppose so. We'll have to see how everything goes once we get back, but for now, I'm just glad you like me. I've been winding myself up for weeks about that, so I'm thankful for things turning out like this. She nods, leaning into me as we share the warmth of our bodies. I'm not sure whether I should be okay with it or not, but my temptation rapidly begins to get the better of my self-restraint. Hey, Lily? Yes? How was it? Last night, that is. She pauses in thought before looking down slightly. A delicate smile finds its way onto her lips as she blushes, her body becoming more relaxed. It's more than enough to answer the question. Even as I get a small nod of response, thoughts of last night run through my mind. Considering the situation, I don't really think anyone would blame me. Certainly not me, Hisao. Hisao, your heart's beating. Her voice is cut off as I delicately place a hand on her thigh. While I'd resisted before, the memory of our first time is enough to make me give in. She lets her body lean into mine without a word of protest, an invitation that I'd be hard put to ignore. I place a small kiss on her neck to accept, before slowly moving my hand over her smooth legs. Hisao, please. Even as she says it, her mouth curls upward into a smile, her tone caught between embarrassment and awkward giggling. Eventually, she takes one of my hands in hers, guiding it to her right breast. I greatly appreciate the tentative guidance she's willing to give me. All signs of tension in her body give way. I continue to take in the feeling of her soft skin, redoubled as my other hand slips between her legs. I wonder if the feeling of my hands on her is exaggerated by her lack of sight, since her other senses are so finely tuned. She does seem to be enjoying it to a surprising extent, after all. It gives me a somewhat odd feeling, but a pleasurable one. It only takes a few minutes before her body starts to squirm ever so slightly, her efforts to stifle her moaning becoming visible as she purses her lips. Her light-hearted, whispering protestations become noticeably more quiet. This makes me realize that all her squirming against my body has made me increasingly excited as well. Lily. I withdraw my hands to give her addled senses time to respond. Nodding, she shakily stands and offers her hands for me to lead her out of the cramped bathtub. She maneuvers herself out of the bath, as I do, our hands holding each other's. Eventually, I sit beside the bathtub, the two of us fussing around a little until we get comfortable. With a small gasp, desperately constrained to avoid being audible outside, she lowers herself onto me once again. The way she moves makes it obvious that she must still be on the verge of her climax. She slowly starts to move her hips up and down, her tongue finding mine as she holds my face upwards. I realize just how much pleasuring her has excited me. Isao. Despite her clouded eyes being shut, her tightening grip on my shoulders shows that she's nearing the end of her endurance. As our breathing becomes more and more ragged, I rapidly feel my limit approaching as well. A series of harsh breaths is the only warning before her final gasp of ecstasy, her entire body tensing and her fingernails digging into my shoulders. My loins hit hers, the both of us frozen against each other in climax. In a few precious seconds, it's all over, Lily slumping forward onto me as I try to regain myself. That was good. She takes a gulp of air before replying, steadying herself as she nods. She bows her head down to give me a small kiss, my hand reaching up to hold strands of her disheveled hair as we once again sit in blissful silence. You know what? I almost hate to do it, but I'm gonna be a bastard. Really short episode to get us back into it, but just to save some difficulty in editing, I'm gonna call it here, folks. I mean, hell, we got to see another naughty scene between Isao and Lily. What the hell for, or what the hell not, right? Yeah, stay tuned next week for part 19 when we hit the train ride going back to school. I guess that's all from me. I'm your host, NeoMegaMan, signing out. Hee hee. End of life.